the standard that Coach Saban has put in place for us, the mentality that he tries to get this team to develop, and the work ethic that he tries to get us to develop throughout the course of the year. I think that that's what really, the process is, trying to develop us as men on and off the field. That way we can perform in the classroom, on the field, whatever we want to do in our lives. He just he pushes us so hard to handle any sort of adversity, challenges that we may face.
Nick Saban getting those guys ready for the big college football playoff on Saturday. There's one question that Nick Saban always gets. It never gets old to the media. Are you going to coach in the NFL? Are you going to coach in the NFL? That's what people always ask. Here's what he had to say about that.
I didn't talk to one NFL team last year. They know who to call. Jimmy Sexton has been with me for a long time. He calls me and says, "Are you interested?" And I say no, and then that's it. All right, so, and that's as far as anything ever went with any team. Certainly flattering that somebody would have interest, but at this station in life, we're from a family standpoint, from a personal standpoint, we're excited about the challenges that we have in trying to continue to have a successful program in Alabama, and we haven't entertained, any other really opportunities outside of the challenges that we have at Alabama.
Saban, 65 years old. He said that Alabama's his last stop. People are a little skeptical about that with how he left the Dolphins. Do you think he's going to retire in T-Town?
I do. I think it's just everything's laid out for him. It's very simple for him. The recruiting process is probably easier for Nick Saban than any other coach. His resume precedes itself. If you're a five-star recruit that has your pick of anywhere, Nick Saban doesn't even visit until the final push to have them be one of your final teams. You just look at how they're doing in terms of the NFL. At least they're being drafted in the first 2 or 3 rounds. 3, 4, 5 of them every year. It's really interesting. The Shula family detests Nick Saban for 2 different reasons for the same act. They said he wasn't going to leave the Dolphins. Don Shula, who's the Don there, he leaves, so he kind of deserts the Dolphins at a time when they felt like they were starting to fuse. And then Mike Shula was someone you thought that, could stay with Alabama long term. He wasn't. He came in. And Saban made the right decision, obviously. But people don't trust him. I think you can trust him here because he's finally reached his comfort zone and contentment. Most 65-year-olds are ready to be done with work. So I think that this is a good way for him to transition. They got a statue built for him. The other thing is, you do have to
go back to that statue.
I do believe, it's unbelievable. It just doesn't happen for a lot of living people, for any industry in our society. And I think the other thing is, I believe him when he says, because his NFL tenure could have been very different if Drew Brees, who was between the Dolphins and the Saints, chose Miami.
He even said that if Drew Brees would have gone to Miami, he probably wouldn't have
Well,
gone to
because you would
Alabama.
have thought that Drew Brees would then have produced the way he did in his first 3 years, went to Super Bowl with Sean Payton in New Orleans, revived that. I think our country, or certainly the area of southern Louisiana, is better off that he went there. I don't know if southern Florida is better of it because the Dolphins struggled to fill seats, but everything has worked out great for Nick Saban and for your home state. I think Alabama has been, they're back to where they thought they should have always been, and it's not necessarily a guarantee. If Nick Saban didn't go back there, we've seen Notre Dame fail now 5 times and shown desperation to bringing in the proper coach. Nebraska seems to never have gotten back to where they were supposed to be. They still have this mentality that it's 1970, and it's not. And Alabama could have very well gotten stuck like Notre Dame and Nebraska if Nick Saban, who I think can be in the conversation, certainly in the Mount Rushmore greatest coaches in college football history, did not go to Tuscaloosa.
It's a guy that likes to be in control, and in the NFL, you are not in control from top to bottom.
That's a great point.
College football, you are.
Yeah.